Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome aboard once more for another afternoon game drive. We're here in the Greater Mara Reserve. We've come across the river. We're 1 degree south of the equator, and we're in Kenya. This is Safari Live, and my name is Ralph Kirsten, and on the camera we've got Manu. So a little bit of a change there because Taylor is going with Archie today and Manu's coming with me because we've come all the way down the river. I'm just going to show you what we've been up to this afternoon. We've come from Serena area and driven all the way down the main road to Purungat Bridge at the bottom, and now we've come across the river and we're in this area of Lookout Hill. And the reason we've come to this area is because we've heard through the underground that there's possibly some of our cheetah cats in the area. So that's our plan for this afternoon. I haven't seen any cheetah since I've been in the Maasai Mara, and we're going to be going looking for cheetah. So please join us on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and on the YouTube live chat. We'd love to have your questions and your comments as you join me on this road of discovery, because I haven't been this side of the river. We're on the eastern side now, and we've got lots more space to explore and look for our cheetah. So I think it's time to start up and see what we can find. As we came across the river, we had some elephant. Now, Sherry, apologies that you're far away on the other side of the world and getting very cold at 4 degrees or -4, but with us here, we're at about 30 degrees centigrade, just mid 80 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's a lovely afternoon. The wind has picked up a little bit now in the last half an hour, but it's cooling things off a bit, and who knows what we're going to find. But I'm after those cheetah, and we know that they are daytime active, so we have every chance of finding them and every chance of seeing them in action. Now there in front of us, that's just one of the first little animals that I've seen on this plane, and a little steenbok making his way through. So folks, this is going to be a wonderful afternoon. I'm very glad you're joining us on the largest game drive in the world. Let's send you on over to Taylor, who I'm sure can't wait to say hello.
I'm always excited to greet all of you. Look at what there is. Absolutely nothing except golden grass blowing in the wind and the big blue sky with a few clouds. What a different scene from 3 months ago. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Archie. Yeah, we've changed it up for the new year. The last drive here of 2017. Pretty sad. It's flown by. I'm sure it's flown by for everybody. But as I was saying, the last time, well, not the last time I was here, because there weren't that many wildebeest down this way. It's when I first arrived in the Mara and I came driving in this area, there was not a blade of grass. It was short. It was like a golfing green, and there were just wildebeest everywhere. But that has changed so much. I'm literally looking around to see if I can show you anything. There's not even a bird out at the moment. Just the wind howling, so I wouldn't imagine that there'd be any animals standing on tops of these crests. I reckon everybody's going to be slightly lower down and hiding in some of those valleys to try and keep out of the wind. Right, shall we go look for some animals, Archie? It's your first time on the Maasai Mara, or in the Maasai Mara National Reserve. Are you excited? Very excited. Archie's smiling. So for those of you that have also just joined us, a big welcome again. It is a live and interactive safari, so this is happening right now. And Ralph and I are not in the Mara Triangle. We're in the Maasai Mara National Reserve, frantically making our way up towards Talaq in hope to find some cheetah. I thought I saw a car behind me, but there was nothing. It was a tree that resembled a car. But so yeah, very exciting. So hashtag Safari Live on Twitter if you have any questions for us, or alternatively you can also talk to us on the YouTube chat. And I think we'll probably find more animals the further up we go, so we won't waste too much time in these quiet spots. I know it's going to be quiet down here. There's no animals at all, and there is a couple of thousand wildebeest that have taken up residence in Talaq at the moment, and no one's really certain why. It's the first time they've ever done it, but it is very exciting. So once we get into that area, it means that I think we're going to be seeing a lot of action. The last time we went there, oh my goodness, let's do a quick recap. Mating gerbils, highlight. That was amazing. This road is very bumpy. That's not a highlight. We had the musketeers, or the fast five, or whatever they're calling it, 5 male cheetah that live together these days. They killed a baby Thompson's gazelle, then a lioness came in, then there was a male lion, and then there were 3 more male lions, and then they were roaring, because it's so exciting. I reversed into another car. That was the last time I came down here. It feels like ages ago. It wasn't really, it was just a few weeks back. Funny enough, I think it was like a week and a half or 2 weeks before TV, or before we did Big Cat Week. So that was quite cool, and I'm hoping over the next 4 days we're going to get some epic sightings like that with a variety of cheetah that roam around in that area. There's so many of them now. Now the only thing though is we're still testing all the gremlins around here. Linda, you're wondering if the wildebeest are coming back now? No, not yet. They've still got a while to go. They should start coming back up maybe in June or July, somewhere around there. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. I hope that we're going to have the big rains in 2018, because the Maasai Mara National Reserve is much more dry than what the triangle is. Also, I suppose there is a little bit of a difference though. I promise I will stop as soon as I see an animal. There's just grass at the moment, not even a bird. So this side of the reserve was grazed a lot heavier than the triangle. So of course, whereas we see the triangle, the grass is almost taller than my head, but some of those areas were only grazed down to sort of knee height, like, you know, a foot or two. And this side is probably only at knee height now. So it'll be interesting to see if that's going to make a difference, and when the wildebeest come back, especially if we don't have any big rains, which they haven't had since 2015. So will they come? I don't know. Maybe we just get these small downpours right the way through, because there's weird things going on with the weather at the moment all over the world. Oh, I miss this side of the reserve so much. Julia, you're wondering how on earth do we how do we stop dust and other particles from getting into our eyes if we don't have a windscreen? We actually do have a windscreen. However, I don't think I'm going to be strong enough to... Windscreen, Exhibit A. It has many cracks from bouncing on the hood of the car on these bumpy roads. Right, so there's that. So we don't drive with it up though. It actually restricts your view. You can't see nicely all the way around, so we prefer it open. And well, it's funny that you ask that, because my eyes seem to be attacked all the time by I don't have mites. I don't know why I said mites. I meant to say midges, which are like these little flying critters, and lots of dust and all sorts of other bugs often fly into my eyes. So what we should be getting, but we just haven't gone to source them yet, so I suppose it's our own fault, is that we should get some clear perspex goggles of sorts. There are certain brands of sunglasses, and I used to wear them when I was guiding at night. And I think I've actually got a couple of pairs at home. I just haven't been home for such a long time. Need to dig them out. So yeah, so it's a tough one. You kind of just deal with it. Sunglasses work pretty well. I put my sunglasses on not just for the bugs though, but for the sun. I can't tell you how bright it is out here. It's as if somebody had a whole lot of reflectors and was just sort of getting them into your eyes. Bless you, Archie. We do sneeze a lot though, however, from the dust. Archie's just done that. Okay, we're going to keep searching in this golden grass, and maybe we'll find a cat's head or two popping out of it. Ralph is also experiencing the Maasai Mara for the first time. Let's go see if he's managed to find that cheetah near Lookout Hill.
Thanks, Taylor. And we've just been driving around this Lookout hill, because the news that we got was the cheetah were on the northeastern side, so we haven't seen any vehicles for now, so we can't use the obvious giveaway sign where some cats are. We're actually going to have to use our skill and go around and do a little bit of leapfrogging and try and work out where these cheetah are. But look at that, we've got some warthogs out here in the plains, and I can tell you that just as we came across the river, what struck me immediately was the amount of well-trodden, and when I say well-trodden, I mean like lager or gully walked by the antelope and animals that have been walking down to the river. So these deep game paths that have been obviously forming over the last 1,000 years or more, and that for me was absolutely enthralling. That at the moment we don't see all these thousands of animals out here in the plains, but you can almost imagine how when the migrations begin and these animals start moving towards the river and then bottlenecking down towards where they can cross, it's just blown me away. So anyway, those were just my few thoughts as I crossed the river, and after that it's just the sheer openness and huge grasslands with the odd dotted animals around, and the grass very low because I think of all that movement of animals and grazing as they've gone through, with the thousands upon thousands of zebra and wildebeest and gazelle. I just can't wait to see that live here with Safari Live. But for now we're still doing our little loop around the hill on the lookout for the cheetah. So I think we're going to continue on a little bit, and you can see a bit of the heat haze coming through. It's just past midday, and so we do have quite a bit of heat here, but the breeze is keeping us nice and cool. And we were driving just in front of a huge storm, but it seems to have abated a bit now. Now, Wendy, you're wondering if Africa's going through a drought and if this is normal. As far as I'm concerned and aware, this is quite normal here in Kenya and in the Maasai Mara, heading into Tanzania and the Serengeti. At this time of year, we have some small rains, and so that's your afternoon small thunder showers. But once it hits between January and March, that's when there is big rains, and all the rivers will fill up a lot more. They are slowing a little bit at present, but we are still getting the odd afternoon showers, so it's not going through a drought here. However, in South Africa they have been going through a drought, and that is a lot more further south in Africa. Here we're a lot closer to the equator and almost a lot more rainfall, and so it's not really a problem here for the rain, but it does have a feel of quite dry grass out in the plains here, a little bit scorched as they've been grazed, and then with the bareness in the open sun, the sun is quite harsh here, very close to the equator. But I think it's time to start up, and we're gonna head on around this lookout hill and see if we can spot the cheetah off in the distance. Now, Iris, you're saying that you can't wait to see another cheetah. The last one you saw was a very long time ago. Well, I think I'm in exactly the same boat, Iris. I haven't seen many cheetah in the last little while or recently, so for me I'm very excited, and that's obviously what we're going to try and find. But whatever we find in between, as always, we're going to stop for and have a look, see what's happening, and enjoy it as we go, because we never know what the bush is going to throw at us. So it's always exciting getting out and seeing what wildlife is up to. Last night in the camp, everybody watched The Lion King. I don't know if Taylor told you, but this is a perfect depiction of But So I'm going to make my way towards where they said that those cheetah were. We'll have a look, but in the meantime, let's send you on over to Taylor and see how she's getting on.
That sounds like good news then, so you must have an idea as to where it is. That's going to be very, very nice for Ralph. Now, we're still driving around looking for signs of life. We've seen 1 or 2 warthogs in the far distance. We've seen lots of ostrich also, but in the very, very far distance. I can't believe how the wind is actually howling this afternoon. It's not very pleasant. It does get a lot windier here. It's obviously massive open space. It's much bigger than what the triangle is. Right, what are we going to see? What are we going to see? At least the grass is still short enough here, so I think it could be quite nice as the sun starts to dip. Maybe we can get some more rodents, watch those gerbils of sorts come out. I've been seeing, I don't know, there's another type of rat that's running around camp every now and then. I don't know if it's maybe a grass rat or something along those lines. I'm not actually sure what they're called. But they're quite big, dark grey, and fairly fluffy. Well, not fluffy, just lots of hair. So it'll be nice to see some of them. Who knows? We've been seeing lots of snakes in the triangle. Maybe we're going to start seeing some more snakes this side. And then the Lion King. That was fun. I haven't watched the Lion King for a very long time. I didn't remember all the words like I thought I was going to. Faith, however, who's directing the show, she knows all of the words. She belted them out, but at least she can sing. Rather her than anyone else in camp. No offense to everybody else in camp. Archie, I don't think I've heard you sing before, but we're not really blessed with singers at the moment, and of course Mr. Henry's not around to grace us with his beautiful voice. So Faith has to do all the singing. But yeah, maybe we're gonna, I don't know what we're gonna find. I'm just trying to remember. Faith says she's too embarrassed to feed me any questions now. She's going to make me suffer. I'm just trying to remember what lions we could see around here. We're kind of near ash knolls. So there's a couple of prides and some black rhino, potentially. Oh no. Scarlett, I've been dreading these questions all day long. You want to know what my New Year's... My New Year's? I don't know why I said that. New Year's Eve, well, my New Year's resolution. Hashtag New Year, New Me. Yeah, I did it. I don't do them, ever. I don't want to be a hypocrite. That's just my opinion, though. Because I know that I'll just fall into old habits. I am going to not say New Year, New Me ever again in my entire life. This is the last time I'll ever say it. It's today. 2018, in the years to come, those words will never leave my mouth. I'm going to try and not get so frustrated with technology. That's probably one thing I'll try and do, but I know I'm not going to, though. That's why I say I don't even bother. I don't know. Travel more, all those wonderful things. There's so many different things. But I'm sure you're all telling each other what your New Year's resolutions are, and that is so wonderful. And I hope that you manage to stick to them. If you're going to do something like that, you've got to make a big effort, concerted effort, to try and work through it. Let's see. Archie, do you have a New Year's resolution? No. Archie's like me. He says no. Faith, who's directing? Faith, do you have a New Year's resolution? Let's try and see. No! Oh my goodness, it seems like the Wild Earth team is, well, not ones to make New Year's resolutions. Oh my goodness, I had 4 roads to choose from. This is amazing. I can just go everywhere my heart desires. Now I'm starting to see a few vehicles popping up, which could be quite good. Try and get some more intel onto where the animals are. Matthew, you're wondering why there are so few trees as we're driving along here. So this is predominantly grassland. That's why that road is put here, because that one is a shocker. So it's just the type of biome, the vegetation type that occurs here, but then also the elephants are largely responsible for turning wooded areas into grasslands and things like that. So it'll be a combination, but it's actually it's normal for this area, massive grazing lands, and it's why it is so favorable to so many animals to travel such a far way to come and feed you, because there is so much food around, so much grass. I mean, in South Africa, if you go down to the Sabi sand, there aren't many open grasslands like this. If you look on Djuma, a lot of the areas, or a lot of big clearings that there are, they're all man-made. They've all been cleared physically, one way or another, from slashing or uprooting trees, you know. So that's been done. This is all pretty much natural, most of it. And you know, they're quite strict when it comes to chopping down trees in the triangle, or even up on the escarpment or in the Maasai Mara National Reserve. And I was just reading the Mara Triangle annual report, and very, very impressive to see how many arrests they made for people that were either cutting down trees or attempting to cut down trees. So that was quite cool to see that they are still protecting all the vegetation. It's super important. Won't believe how us as humans can completely devastate forested areas as well for something like firewood, or to make furniture, or to do any of these different types of things. We can really we can just demolish an entire area. Now the only thing with the triangle, not the triangle, the reserve is that it has these undulating hills, and this causes a few problems every now and then with signal. So what I'm trying to do this afternoon is I'm trying to keep in line with the Olololo escarpment, and if I stop just here you can actually see it. Oh, there's a Topi! Oh my goodness, there's life! A heartbeat! How exciting! So if you look in the very, very far distance, it's quite hazy though. There's a couple of hills topped with green trees, and then just at the back of that, and just a little bit higher than that Topi, you can see the Olololo escarpment still. There we go. That's the sort of very faint blue line that you can see. So I'm trying to stay in line with that. But this is what I was talking about the other day. Well, I always talk about the different layers and colors that this area has. It is so stunning, from the different browns on the ground, the different shades of green, and then of course what really makes it is the escarpment, and then all the other hills with the trees topped on top of them, I suppose. I hope we don't get a big storm tonight. I'll be sad if we get poured on. Now, Carl, you're wondering if you're able to off-road. Yeah, you can off-road anywhere you like. Well, we can. We've got permits for it. Not everybody is allowed to off-road. Again, if you don't have a special off-roading permit, you have to stick to all the pathways. But there are so many of them. There's definitely a lot more roads that meander and serpentine, and I don't know what other words you can use to describe the roads here, in the Maasai Mara than there are, for instance, in Kruger. I find in Kruger they're quite limited. There's still massive areas here where there aren't any roads, but at least it's all open so you can scan with your binoculars. But again, we've got permits. But with that being said, even though we're allowed to drive wherever we like, that's why we're trained professional guides. We will use all our training to make the right decision. If it's been pouring with rain, you might find that we're going to have to say no to a sighting, unfortunately, because we don't want to go in there and wreck the grass. Remember, this is all valuable grazing, and because there hasn't been as much rain for the last 2 years as there have been prior to those years, it's going to have a massive impact on when the wildebeest come back. And they might move away quicker or come through later or not stay as long if there's not enough food around. Why would you want to come to an area where there's not a lot of food? So yeah, so it all goes hand in hand. And that's why we try our absolute best to make the best decisions while we're out on safari. Not just for the animals, but also for the flora too, for all the plants, the grasses and trees and things like that. Now, Linda, I'm going to keep going because I think we might see more of them. You were wondering if there was a reason as to why that Topi was all on its own. Yeah, 100%. Well spotted. And the reason for that is that it's a male. So they mark and defend small territories. They often will stand up on termite mounds that's within their territory so that they can make themselves known. Other Topi can see that area is already occupied. Remember, animals don't like conflict situations. They will try and avoid them at all costs unless they absolutely have to. And yeah, so at the moment it doesn't look like he's got a breeding herd. There's a couple of herds of Topi scattered all around here, and we'll definitely see more of them, that's for certain. I am just so excited to get up to the Hammerkop area, which is the area where the cheetah like to hang around, a variety of different cheetah. So I'm pushing it a little bit today. I'm just constantly on the go. Not that there's much in between though, but it is a nice, different drive though, different scenery. So I think Rolf has got himself into an area where he's still got to learn where the good signal areas and things like that. So sadly you're stuck with me. The gremlins have got him. I don't want to go onto the main road. Let's just have a look at it. It's so terrible. But maybe this section is better. Archie at one point was not even touching the seat. We were bouncing so much. Just on the, it wasn't quite sort of small gravel pieces. It was much larger ones, so we were bouncing on top. And then of course, as you drive, and it's a skill that for those that want to become guides one day, it's one of the hardest. I've definitely felt that I have to concentrate a lot more here, just because you're driving for long distances firstly, so your brain gets quite tired, but then you're also scanning such a massive area. In Djuma, in the Sabi sands, you can only see so far because the trees become so dense, especially in summer. Obviously they haven't had much rain either, so it's going to take a bit of time for the vegetation to get back to where it was a few months ago. But in winter you can sort of see, but it's still nothing like this. And there can literally be an animal anywhere. We've seen how many times now lions sitting out in the heat of the day, no problem. And we should have a better chance of spotting the cats here, just because the grass is so much shorter. So that's pretty cool. So I'm checking all the little shady spots. It is hot, but there is quite a bit of wind, so I'm, you know, it's not stinking hot like it has been over the last few days. And we've got to check up in the tops of the trees too. Or leopards. Matt, you said is there a race on to see who can find the cheetah first? I would actually like it if Ralph found them. I don't mind. So the cheetah that I told him about down here, I got information from one of our friends that work at Mara West, and I passed him and I had a chat, and I actually I told Ralph, I was like, Ralph, why didn't you know the reserve quite well? So I said, we want to show you the major landmarks, just because that makes it a lot easier to navigate around, and especially in an area that you don't know. It doesn't matter about the roads in between, as long as you can find a way to get from where you are to point B that you can see in the distance. So yeah, so he said go down that way, and I'm hoping what has caught Ralph's attention was a grouping of cars. Right, Ralph has made it out through the gremlin patch, and good luck on the rest of your adventure. I'll see you in Talaq. I'll have to do a Taylor's Talaq town tour with Ralph tonight, which I'm kind of looking forward to. It's my favorite place. Let's go and see if he's any closer to that cheetah sighting.
Thanks, Taylor. And for now, the cheetah are evading us, but nonetheless, we're looking out over this beautiful vista with animals off in the distance, and it's just huge, immense plains of wilderness and grassland. And what's lovely to think is that this is and always was wild and natural. It's just it's mind-blowing. Every direction you look in, it's just open plains, and then the odd dotted animal. And it's lovely to see when there's an animal like an elephant walking through it. Unfortunately, in this little spot, we've got only up there on the horizon some of the zebra that are grazing through with that heat haze once more. But we're still on the lookout for the cheetah. And there's not really a race between Taylor and myself to see who's going to find them first. I think any one of us having found them will be wonderful. Now, Brad, you're wondering why this grass here is shorter than that in the Mara Triangle. Well, in the Mara Triangle, what I'm already noticing is that if we look at the geomorphology as I've been driving through, the soil here seems to be a lot more sandy, and I would take that is because there's a lot more of a granite base here. So very sandy soils, as opposed to in the Mara Triangle, with there being a marsh there, it would be assumed that that is very clay soils, and that's the reason why the water is staying on the surface, because here very light colored sandy soil, and so we've got a lot of well drained areas, and it's not sitting in marshy sort of very wet area. So here you can see that a lot of grass, but the animals have come through and mowed it, and so it's a little bit cut back, but there's a little bit of the grass coming through, the new shoots, and I'm sure by January, February, with the bigger rains that we get, I'm sure that it's going to turn this into a green grassed wonderland. And that's all part of the yearly cycle as it shifts and changes according to the seasons. So it's pretty normal that we see the short grass and the way it looks on this side. In the Mara Triangle, as I've said, to conclude, pretty clay soils there, and as a result you've got a lot more nutritional base for the grass, but here a lot more well drained with the granite base, and that making sandy soils. So a little bit of geomorphology there as we watch a little family of warthog with all their antennas up as they run through the non-existent grass. Now, CNAC, you're wondering which animals I'd like to see next year on my to-do list. Well, thanks for that, CNAC. You're absolutely right. This is the last game drive of the year. We will only be seeing you next year after this, but luckily for us and for you, that's just tomorrow morning. But on my list, I think top of the list has to be to find some cheetah, because that's why we're here. But other than that, I just want to see whatever the bush has to throw at me, and see all the exciting new birds that we don't get down in South Africa, and maybe see some exciting animal behavior, whether it's between lions and elephant, or cheetah and warthogs, or whatever else might be happening as we drive through, on the lucky chance that something is happening on that specific moment when we're in the area. We'll just have to sit and enjoy it and bring it all to you live. Lovely vistas there. Now I think I'm going to start up and we're going to continue on the lookout for the cheetah, but having a look at it, very open. Now, Julia, you're wondering if I've made any New Year's resolutions. Well, Julia, I'm not a big fan of New Year's resolutions. I know that a lot of people make new rules or decide that they're going to do something in the new year. Now, however, I do think that what I'm going to resolve to do from now on and for this year coming is to just enjoy every single moment, and whether that's going skinny dipping more often, or driving down a secret road that I've never driven on, or maybe driving closer to where we could see where there are cheetah. So I'm just going to take on all the new things that come my way this year with a happy heart and a smile. We're coming down to a little bit of a drainage line, and that's what's nice when it's very open like this. You can see where the water lines are, obviously where the greenery is. So, and when we get down close to it, it's nice always to have a look, because obviously it's almost like stop here because there's a little bit of water as there is here. So always go slow areas. You can picking up on some little special animals that live in this micro habitat.
Oh my goodness, Gremlins, all up in the Maasai Mara today. However, we've got some giraffe, and perhaps they know a good technique to get rid of them. Now, for those of you who have no idea what on earth a gremlin is, I'm sorry. It's a very sweet word. It's a nice word, actually, because we could use a lot stronger and more graphic words to describe what gremlins are. But they essentially are technical difficulties that we experience from streaming live from the middle of Africa. It's pretty amazing that we are able to bring this entire show to you live. But we're sitting with Maasai giraffe now of various sizes. Big ones, small ones. Although, what is a small giraffe? Because they're still, even when they're born, they're taller than what I am, which is spectacular. There's another one over there, and then there's also 2 impala rams every now and then, which we'll see in a minute. This giraffe might lead us straight towards one of the impala rams, and they didn't seem too happy with each other. When we arrived, there was lots of snorting and that gurgling sort of noise that they like to make, and I'm hoping that at some point they're going to become a bit annoyed with one another and then actually clash heads or fight for this spot. It's quite a nice area. It's grassy. There's a couple of shrubs to help protect you from the wind. We also know that impala just the impala eat the grass and the leaves, and then the giraffe are browsers. So there's plenty of food around for these 2 species. And the water's not too far. The river's quite close. Fred, you said that you wish giraffe had the energy of a baboon. Can you imagine? Even an impala, I'm just trying to think though. An impala has got a fair amount of energy, but a giraffe bouncing around, chasing one another. Can you imagine, like that sighting we had yesterday morning? Was it yesterday morning? Yes. And I think that could be quite interesting. That could be quite a bit of fun. You've just put all sorts of thoughts in my head. But impala don't need any more energy. They've got a serious spring in their step. They don't run like the giraffe and look like they're going in slow-mo. It's quite the opposite, in fact. They can bound at quite a speed. In fact, about between 60 and 70 kilometers an hour they can run it, and then they can do massive leaps. They can leap a length of about 10 meters, which is pretty spectacular when you're trying to show off and get a predator to leave you alone. Those are the best things. A giraffe, well, he just uses his powerful legs, and if a lion gets too close, he'll chop and try and kick away at any lions giving a giraffe any trouble. And you wouldn't believe that there was actually a giraffe there. It's even camouflaged behind the tree. Scarlett, you're wondering which animal intimidates me most on drive? Definitely not a giraffe. However, you must be respectful of them. I've seen many vehicles with kicked-in doors. In the car, I feel pretty safe, hey? I know what I need to do to stay safe in a car. You've really got an upsetting animal for it to want to attack you in a vehicle. So that doesn't happen too often. However, on foot, the good old buffalo and a hippopotamus are the 2 that I normally worry about. Even an elephant to an extent. Of course, you've got to be very respectful of an elephant, but you can just read their behavior a little bit more. And because they are so big, they are massive creatures, and they know it. They know they're not small, and they know how strong they are. You know, they tend to just want to give you a bit of a fright rather than necessarily hurt you. And then they do a lot of mock charging and stuff like that. But again, that can turn at any minute, and you just don't want to upset them. So I tend to keep an eye out for the thick-skinned mammals when out on a walk, but in the car, I'm alright. I'm okay. Okay, well, let's keep going. I just stopped up here. I saw the giraffe, so I thought we'd better quickly come and say hello, but we don't actually want to go in this direction. We're going in that direction over there. Missing them. Oh, sorry, it's a bit bumpy here. Paulie, wondering if we're sleeping out in the reserve tonight and keeping away from camp? No, we're actually going to go through Talaq, which is a very small little town. I once did a Taylor's Talaq town tour. How's that for alliteration? And I wanted to show you a lot more though, but unfortunately the gremlins were horrible that evening. But maybe, you never know, maybe it'll be better. It could be quite cool tonight because everybody's going to be ready for a party. And I'll tell you, Kenyans love to celebrate, that's for sure. So it might be quite nice. We'll see what we can when we're finished and we've gone through the gates. See if there's anything lit up, and we'll get Faith to see how our feed is doing, if the gremlins are not attacking it or not. Maybe we'll show you a bit more, some local music, you know, a little dance. I don't know. So yeah, we're going to a camp called Olasheki, which is one of my favorite little camps. It's so quaint. It's I'm trying to think how I would describe it. Like an old German pub. Not that I've ever been to Germany and been to a pub, but I've been to many, I don't know, authentic German pubs. You know, they try and do in various places, and it seems very much like it. But it is such a cool spot. You feel like you've arrived at home. You walk in, it's like your own home in the bush. You throw your bags down, take your shoes off, put your feet up on the couch. That type of vibe. It's really cool, and the staff is so friendly there too. They're really nice. So we haven't seen them for quite some time, so it'll be great to go back and say hello to everybody. And a lot of the lodges are full at the moment, so hopefully it's going to be quite festive. I'm sure we'll entertain some guests there. We love to do that. That's one thing I definitely do miss as a guide, is telling campfire stories. You guys can only listen to me for a little while. It gets so much more entertaining when you put a fire in front of me, I promise. But yeah, Archie can maybe vouch for that. Right, just thinking what our best route is going to be. I'm trying to eye out where we're going to go because the road splits. And I'm thinking signal-wise... Oh, hang on, there's a Warthog. Minutes. There it goes. A big pig. I don't know what it was doing going inside his burrow at this time of the day. It was quite hot. Maybe it got a fright. Looks like a young male. And Faith has just shouted in my ear, "It's Pomba!" Now I've got all the Lion King songs in my head again after last night. It was really, really, really nice to watch that movie. But where's his worms and beetles and things that he should be slurping up? He's not doing that. He's not behaving like his cartoon alter ego. Bye, Pomba, aka the Warthog. Right, so we'll keep going. We'll go this way. When did Wild Earth start broadcasting Safari live from the Mara? About 6 months ago now, almost, or maybe even 7 months. I think it was May we started, somewhere around there, yeah. And then I think May we went live, so it's amazing. Hey, so we've been going for quite some time. Faith, I'm just warning you, if there's a few gremlins here, hold on, I am going to climb up the hill again. Whee! Just in case my signal starts to break up, I'll fix it in a minute. Whee! Up we go. I've been up here for 4 months now, almost 4 months. No, yeah, 4 months. It's loads of fun, just concentrating. Ooh, it was very bumpy there. Making sure I don't drive over any of those big boulders. I don't think that would be good for the tires. And it's doing very, very well. We've just put up another repeater, so we're opening up another area now where we can go and explore. And we'll do some tests while we're this side as we'll push the boundary a bit in between game drives, because we haven't even had a chance to explore the Sand River Valley yet. Brent always talks about the Sand River Valley. It's his absolute favorite, and often when he's across the side of the river during the day, he'll go and explore new spots. So there's some areas that apparently look like an absolute oasis, with the big Phoenix reclinatus and yeah, just lots of palms and streams, and it's so beautiful. So it would be nice to be able to, showcase some of that as well. There's a couple of spots here and there where you've got a similar setup, but from my understanding it just goes on and on and on and on and on. Right, check here. Now we've got this massive view, and what I want you all to look at is, look how many big trees there are. There's one tree that stands out to me in the distance on the other hill, and when you are out looking for animals out here, nobody really wants to spend, unless you're a Topi or a wildebeest, you typically go and you look for some shade. So I'm going to stop and have a look with my binoculars, and you can all look with me to to see if there's anything laying underneath any of those shady spots. But it doesn't look like it. There's obviously those animals. There's Thompson's gazelles and warthogs and all sorts of things. But let's check underneath the trees. I don't know. Might have to go in a little closer. My binoculars don't even want to go that far. Let's have a look under the shade. Can we have a look at those big ones that I was pointing out earlier? I didn't get to have a look, and I wanted to have a look with my binoculars first. There we go. Can't see anything just yet. But again, we're very, very far away. That's a bit better. But no, it doesn't look like there's anything there. There's a couple of shrubs obscuring that sort of view of that tree. Okay, so there's not much down here at all, unfortunately. Few topi, few buffalo here and there. Nothing we're going to go off-roading for, however. Now, Richard, you're wondering if there's any camping allowed. There is. However, they're designated camping sites. There's some really beautiful ones in the triangle, in fact. Otherwise, you're going to have to stay at one of the lodges. And there's quite a few lodges scattered along the Talaq River. There's a few along the Mara River as well. So yeah, so you can have a look. It just depends, I suppose. Yeah, what you're keen for. I would love to come and do camping in the Mara. Actually, I really want to go camping in Mana Pools. I think that would be spectacular. That's in Zimbabwe, though. That was across the river. I used to stare at it every day, looking from Zambia into Zimbabwe, going, "Oh, I wish I was there." And then when I moved back to South Africa, I went, "Oh, I wish I was back in. I wish I was." But I'm spoiled, though. I have all these amazing locations in Africa that I get to come and explore and drive around in places that, well, you know, being one of the first people to ever sleep out in the Maasai Mara National Reserve in the Triangle is pretty epic. Like, no one else has done that except everyone except the presenters and the cameramen that have been up in the Mara. So that's quite amazing to be able to say that. And not just anybody is able to do that either. We're very, very lucky. So I think I don't quite know where I'm going right now. I think there should be a road that will take us up here somewhere. I see lots of cars driving around now. Also, I've made something sticky on my feet, and now my shoes keep sticking to the pedals. It's a lot of fun. That's how you get ants. We're gonna have to hose that down when we get out tonight. Now, Faith, can you just give me some confirmation if you still are with me? Just because there's this little dodgy spot. All perfect, wonderful. Yeah, there we go. Just checking. So you're gonna hear us doing that quite a bit today as well. Especially with Ralph, just confirming that we have communication, because in order to get to the Talaq side, we do have to go through a couple of gremlin infested spots, so we just need to make sure that we're constantly in communication. So please, I do apologize for that. What is that car scene? They've stopped on the edge of a lugger. I'm trying to see what this car is stopped at, because I don't want to go all the way that side if it's absolutely nothing. I'm just going to let this car come through first. Do you want to watch a vehicle go through a river crossing? Who wants to see that? Come on. Ah. Sorry about that. So I'm just having a look to see what's going on. So that car actually went the other. That lugger coming through the water, so we see how deep it is. We'll use them as a test subject, but they're about to come through now. Not waterproof and with all the very expensive equipment that's in it that we use to broadcast these live streams. So it's nice to know how high it is. I don't think it's going to be particularly high. I think it's probably going to be up to about his number plate, maybe. Let's see if I'm right. Let's see. Ah, so shallow. That's so disappointing. I thought it was going to be a little bit deeper than that. See, often what happens is I always talk about with the big trucks and things getting stuck, or if someone hasn't gone in with 4x4, it's a little bit of a problem, and you can start spinning and you create massive ruts, and then that's often how we get stuck, because you drive in thinking it's fine, and then you slip into these deep ruts, and then you can't get through. Shortly, as we got here. Not much, actually. There's Serena. Let me show you in relation to where... area. I'm just so I can. And I just want to as to where Serena is. Boop. Those trees should all look very familiar to you. So that's down that way. So that's on the other side of the Mara River. So we're actually not too far away at all. Okay, are you ready to go through the crossing? I think so. Let's just try to get this car into 4x4 first. Right. Now we're going to do a 4x4ing experience, and we're going to have lots of fun. Right, let's go. Let everybody come through. Something must have been happening up here, because there's lots of cars now coming down this way. Again, I'm going to apologize in advance if there is some picture.
Hello everyone, and we haven't been able to find the cheetah just yet, but we've found another bunch of right next to them. We were in quite a big dip, and we're quite far away from the tower, so we lost our signal. So we've had to come up the hill a little bit to get some signal to send it through to you. But there is a pride of lions, and then across on the plains there we have some zebra, and I think they might be staring at the lions as they do. And they're pointing straight at those lions, so I won't be surprised if they've caught wind of them. The lions are lying on their backs and enjoying the afternoon snooze, and this giraffe also taking a little bit of time out, sitting down. They can very often sleep like that, and they put their head on their rump. So it can be quite a picture when you see a giraffe sleeping. It's not often you see them lying down or doing that. It's nice to see that. And there, quite a big herd of buffalo, always doing what they normally do in the afternoon, which is chewing the cud and ruminating, possibly wallowing in the mud. Now, First Lady Shah, you're wondering how tall giraffe get. It's normally at around, I think it's the average is at about 5 meters, so it's probably about 6.5 yards. In feet, I think 2 meters, 8 feet, 2, 4, 6, 8, 16, 24, 32 feet, somewhere there, 32 to 35 feet. They are very tall. And these are a couple of males here. Just standing, staring off into the distance, also ruminating, similar to that of the buffalo. But look at all those bony outgrowths that they use for clubbing each other. And the head, very much used as a club when they're doing their manly battles, swinging their neck and throwing their head like a pendulum, and then hitting each other on the body, on the neck, and sometimes even on the head. But this is a very good looking individual. Another one off to the right behind him, also facing into the breeze, carrying out his digestion chores, chewing. It's lovely with giraffe, you can actually see it very clearly. If we watch him for a little while, he should swallow in a minute, and you can watch a little ball going down his neck, and then there it comes all the way back up, and there he starts chewing again. It's amazing to watch, and very interesting that with such a big animal, it's because of that chewing the cud that they have such small little dung pellets. And when you first see giraffe dung, you wouldn't think that it's coming from such a big animal because they're such small little balls. And we often say when we are doing tracking and track and sign in the field, especially with the trails guides, that looks like the little chocolates. Which one is it? The one which is caramel center with chocolate on the outside. I think it's Rolo. That's it, the Rolo chocolates. the giraffe dung pellets look exactly like Rolo chocolate. It's indented on the one side and got a little point on the other, so very similar to that of a Rolo. But these giraffe quite content at the moment. They must have spent the morning feeding, and now they've got to do that obligatory chewing, swallowing, and regurgitating and repeat. And there's his lovely fly swat. And that's a nice picture, the giraffe inside the legs of another giraffe. And so we're on top of the hill here. It's also quite blustery. Now, Tom, you're wondering what the difference is between the Maasai giraffe and the one found in Djuma. There's very little difference between them at all. But slight subspecies here. It's obviously just because of the evolutionary line, a bit closer to the equator, so a slight change in geography, and very similar. They almost look exactly the same, and it seems that the ones that we have in Djuma do get slightly bigger, and these ones also look slightly darker, but in their general size and shape and colors almost identical. So not much difference there at all. In the background there you can see a little bit of the Olololo escarpment way off in the distance. So that's where we've come from, and we're quite far now across the river, and we're heading up in a sort of northerly direction. As we came onto the eastern, we went south and then we crossed over the river in an easterly direction, and now we're heading back up north or northeast, so slightly more away from the Olololo escarpment, but still heading up towards the same latitude that we were at camp. What a lovely picture that is, with the regal looking giraffe over the plains. Now, Sonny, you're wondering if I know this reserve or park off the back of my hand. Not at all, Sonny. I've got my map with me, my handy, trusty map, and I've learnt over many years how to read maps and how to go to new parks and reserves and get lost initially, and after the first couple of times driving around, then you can find your way around quite easily. And we've got some wonderful landscape or landmarks here in this landscape. Obviously with that Olololo escarpment off to the west, off to the west, and then we've got the Mara River cutting through the Greater Mara Reserve, going from pretty much a northeasterly to a south westerly direction, and almost from north to south. And so we've cut over now onto the eastern shores, and we're going to be heading in a northerly direction, looking for whatever we can find in between. And what a lovely little stop this was, with pretty much everything we could want to see in one scene. We had lions in the beginning, buffalo, giraffe. Now, Wendy, you're wondering about those termite mounds, and you're saying that they look a lot bigger than the ones in Djuma. Well, the ones in Djuma we actually get are rather large, some of them. You do get some small ones, but you also get different species of termites, which are actually building those termite mounds. So these ones are using one massive chamber below the soil, and so they make only one massive chimney, that is the part of the chimney that is over there that you're looking at. And there's some other species of termites that make a whole system or labyrinth of chambers, and in those chambers, for both species, they are cultivating fungus. So it's all about keeping the right conditions for the fungus below the soil, and so using that chimney, they open and close different pores or holes so that the temperature can remain exactly perfect for the fungus below the soil. And each termite species has a specific fungus species that they are attached to, and without each other, neither of them would survive. So we call that an obligatory mutualistic relationship. There's a mouthful. Obligatory mutualistic relationship. It's one of the symbiotic relationships, but it's one of those very special ones where the one doesn't survive if the other one wasn't present. So that relationship is a super fantastic evolutionary line that they cannot live without the other. It's one of those things that blow my mind. And now we watch the giraffe going down to feed. Now, Monique, you're wondering if there's a difference between the reticulated giraffe and the Maasai giraffe. I think, Monique, if I'm not mistaken, they might be one and the same thing. But I'm going to have to actually go and do a little bit more homework and find out all these little details for you, Monique, because you're raising lovely points here, and I want to go and find out a bit more about them. That's one of the beauties of me having come up here to the Maasai Mara in Kenya. I'm finding all these new animals, and I'm going to go and find out all the lovely new facts. So you'll have to join me again tomorrow morning to see what I've been able to find out about all these little differences and subtleties between all the different species of giraffe. And we've been doing it with a couple of the other animals as we've been going along. But now I'm going to use this as my target and my homework for tomorrow. So Monique, thanks very much. You've given me some work to do. So as we look at these animals with lovely long legs and a very long neck, I think Taylor's also got a feathery friend, but he's also got a very long neck.
Hoping to see ostrich chicks, but we haven't got chicks. How old they are. I actually have absolutely no idea. Sorry everybody, the gremlins are very rude. It might be because of the massive wind that we experienced, because I can see Angama from where we are. So what I was trying to say is I don't exactly know how old these ostriches are. Probably a couple of months, maybe. They do grow very, very quickly. But I haven't seen juvenile ostrich for such a long time. But there are lots of them here. There was one male, and then I counted about 3 adult females. And they're all just moving through this area now. Normally, from what I've seen with ostriches, but of course that's area specific. I've only seen, obviously, have going off with their batch of youngsters once they'd hatched, and then they will live on their own. And sometimes I would see, lots of interaction between the different members. So it'd be quite interesting to see what happens here. Obviously, I mean, ideally animals do form large herds out here, firstly because they are able to. There's so much food, there's so much space, but also it's a great anti-predatory behavior. So I wonder if we're going to see it more often in the Mara, because there's so many more things out here that would want to eat ostrich if they do start grouping together. But very cool though. They're very far away. They're disappearing now. They weren't very happy with the vehicle away from us anymore. Which is quite cool. Oh no. Right. We get now the zebra is starting to pop up. I think there's quite a few. And which, let's jump.
Thanks, Taylor. And yeah, we're just taking another one of these little roads that we haven't been down yet. Oop, there's a spin a little bit there. Oopsie. It's always lovely to be on board when you stall the vehicle, isn't it? It's a bit low range. And a flock. Well, we might have to go back a little bit. It's a little bit of a muddy spot here. And let's try that again. Is everybody enjoying themselves? There we go. All right. Okay, as we look over this side, you can see where those Manu will try his best to have a look there. It's a bit difficult when it's bumpy, but off in the distance there you can see those Inselbergs that we often go down to on the way towards the Tanzanian border, and where I was looking for the dik-diks the other day. So that's just to try and orientate everybody so that you know where we are. So we're on the other side of the river, and you would have been able to see this area from where we've been, but it's almost just off in the distance and those vast plains out on the horizon. A few warthog here in front of us. So maybe we'll stop a little bit and have a look at them, see as they're grazing. Often have to stop quite far away from warthog. Now Mario, you're wondering which animals you'd find down in the forests and not out on the open plains. Well, generally, I would say there's a few animals that generally you wouldn't find too much out on the open plains, but sometimes they also like to go out onto the plains, and so they always do what I have said they shouldn't be doing, like the black rhino, which you'd normally find in the thickets and moving through where it's difficult to find them. But we've found the black rhino out in the Maasai Triangle to be out in the plains quite regularly. But they're not too far away from where there is thick trees and bushes. And so I would say black rhino, leopard as well. You very often find them not so much on the plains, because that's not a really particular area for them to be hunting really. They're more of an ambush hunter, so they need to be where the animals can't really see them behind bushes and branches, and so they can hide up between that and then jump out or have small chases on their prey. Whereas here we can have more the cats like the cheetah on the open plains, and the lions as well. Lions can be a bit of a mix, but leopard generally in the thick stuff, cheetah more out on the plains, and the lions a little bit of a mix between the two. Now there's also other animals that we might find in there, such as your Kirk's dik-dik. You don't really see them out on the plains. They're mostly in the thickets and next to rocky outcrops as well. So that's why I was looking in those particular areas for them. Now, Julia, you're wondering if warthogs are herd animals or if their family stays together. They're more of a small group family type animal as a social structure or behavior. They'll stay together in that little family unit. And sometimes you can see them in what looks like a herd because there's so many of them out in the plains, but it's generally a male and a female with the little piglets. And they then use the unused holes of aardvark, and they go in there and they do excavate a little bit more. The female does a little bit of housework and makes the burrow a little bit more to her liking. And then what has been said in a lot of literature is that the adults go in and they make a little ledge on the inside of the burrow, and they place they push the little piglets up on the ledge, so that times, especially if it had to rain, the piglets wouldn't be lying in the water and that collects at the bottom of the pit or of the burrow. So the big adults who've got a little bit more fat on them and can stand a little bit more water and mud and cold, they lie in the water while the piglets are up on the little ledge. So that's what they'd be doing inside the burrow, which is very interesting. But now I've just got a vehicle coming along, so I'm just going to get out of their way. We have to let everyone have a chance on the road, but it's time for us to move anyway. So hello. Yes, so we're still heading up along the river. We're going to try and eke ourselves a little bit closer to the tree line and see what else we can find down there. But as you can see, vast open plains. So as we continue along these vast open plains and keep on scanning for those little ear flicks or a little bit of movement and that particular color of cheetah, whichever ones we might be lucky enough to find, Malacca or the musketeers, we'll keep our fingers crossed. In the meantime, let's send you on over to Taylor, who I've got fingers crossed that she's found something special for you in the meantime.
That you've been spending. It is a hyena that has been laying in a jacuzzi, but it's not a very relaxed hyena. It actually got out of its jacuzzi and we stopped quite a distance away, and it keeps turning back and wanting to run. So I don't know why it's so jumpy today. Normally the hyena in this area are so relaxed and don't mind us at all. However, of course that changes. It depends on the individual. A couple of Thompson's gazelle in the background too. Scary how little rain this area has. There aren't enough animals around to keep it short like this. That's not what's happening here. It doesn't look like for the last few days. In fact, all the puddles seem to have dried up in a road. Just a couple of them here and there the hyena was making use of, but otherwise it's very sad to see, in fact. But maybe it'll be good news for the triangle because there's lots of food there for them. So maybe that means that they're going to come towards us, which could be quite cool. Okay, I'm going to keep driving. We got to go this way. So I've done basically a route that I know where the signal is fairly good, better than just cutting straight across. So we did have to do a slight detour, but we're only about 30 minutes from Talaq. 45 minutes away from potentially seeing 5 male cheetah. I'm pretty excited, or perhaps we'll bump into Malacca. Sorry, I'm fixing all my cables that are down my shirt. Or maybe you see Imani's 2 daughters. There are quite a few potentials that we could see. And then hopefully Rolf doesn't stick along the Mara River for too long, otherwise he's going to end up off course. And it'll take him forever to come back to Talaq. So I think he should be at the point now where he should be turning and going south again. I Reese, you're wondering if I have any idea as to how many cheetah in the Maasai Mara? I don't know. It's hard because these animals can cross over international boundaries, so it's difficult to say, but there's a lot. I mean, in one game drive within a 10-kilometer radius, maybe 12-kilometer radius, that's what, it was 12 cheetah. There's not many places you can do that, so the population is fairly good up here. They are in South Africa. There are pockets where the cheetah are doing quite well, but overall, unfortunately, actually just overall in general, the cheetah population is not doing very well. There's only about 7,000 of them or so left in the wild, so that's not a lot at all. Hi, zebra. Say hello to the zebbies quickly. Whee. I think everybody should take screenshots of how dry it is and take note of the date. Maybe compare it to pictures that you would have taken maybe 2 or 3 months ago across the river. It doesn't matter where it is, because I mean, most of the time we were coming across, yes, the grass was short, but it was bright green. It looked like a big golf course. So it's changed dramatically. It's creating them for the most beautiful scene, though. Of course, yellow grass, black and white animals, and a dark blue sky with a storm brewing in the background. That's quite pretty. But we look like we're heading straight into some rain, which is no good. So perhaps we might as well hit the rain as quick as we can, get it over and done with, and then look for the cheetah. Wendy, you're wondering why are there more cheetah in the Maasai Mara than there are in the triangle? You know, I was actually talking about this the other day to Manu, I think. I was like, when I first arrived in the triangle, the amount of cheetah I saw was quite a few. Whether it was areas. So about the cheetah, I think it's just more favorable ground here. It's obviously the grass stays pretty short throughout the year, which is the hunting grounds that cheetah like to hunt in. It's strictly open and flat so that they can really reach top speeds. Remember that grass will inhibit them from hunting slightly as well, and also they can't then see above the grass as to where their prey is going, so open is better, and then there's just a lot more food around here. And then because the grass is so long, I mean, the cheetah are around. There's a lot of cheetah on the border, so where we haven't had signal before. So up in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be going down there and doing a lot of tests to see if the new repeater we put up has helped, and then hopefully we should have more sightings of the border boys, and then a female that's got 2 cubs, and I'm sure there's a few more and some leopards down there too. From what I've heard, the lion sightings seem to be few and far between, and when you do have one down there, they tend to be quite skittish. So we will start seeing more cheetah. We definitely will in the triangle. Just like I said, it hasn't been in spots that we've ever been able to drive before, but this is amazing up here. And everybody seems to be hanging around the Talaq area as well. And I reckon that's got something to do with all those wildebeest that are hanging around. So it'll be nice to see the big herds of wildebeest, them chasing each other around. They're funny creatures, aren't they? They are hilarious. They can really keep you entertained. They're kind of like the guinea fowl as well. I love watching guinea fowl, especially now with all the chicks. Maybe we'll get a better sighting of guinea fowl with chicks, seeing as though the grass is much shorter here. I suppose I have to also check left, right, before I just cross an intersection. That's a bad habit. You kind of forget driving in the reserves. Whoever drives with me next is going to be terrified. I'm going to be going slowly and then just stopping and pulling off the side of the road when I want. I'm going to have to get back into it. I'm just joking. It's pretty easy to get back into city driving. It's so ingrained into my brain as well. There's some Thompson's gazelle. Hello, Tommies. Quite a few of them. We'll have a very quick look and then we'll carry on, because I do want to get closer and closer to these cheetah, which we slowly are. So the faster we get there, the better. But quite a large herd. I haven't seen such a big group, even in the triangle. They seem to be much fewer in between. All wagging their tails, trying to keep those insects at bay. Not so many flies this side, but perhaps that's because the flies are battling we didn't get any migration of Topi either. I haven't seen any spectacular herds, as rumours have had it. James is always waiting for the Thompson's gazelle migration to arrive, but it didn't come this year. Right, let's keep going. I know I'm just stopping to have a look every now and then, but I know you've all been asking for Cheetah, and that's what I really want to show you. So Ralph has been battling many gremlins this afternoon. At one point they tried to drag him into the Mara River. Let's go see if he's managed to dry himself off and how he's faring on this side of the reserve.
Thanks, Taylor. And yes, this is one of the little species that we find moving through the grasslands. And this is a banded mongoose family. And lovely to see them foraging through the grass. Now, remember, down in Djuma, we do get the banded mongoose, but the most common one down there is the dwarf mongoose, and the most common one here is this, the banded mongoose. As they move through the grass, you can continuously hear their grr, 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 all the call of all's well from all the little happy individuals, and the odd little squeak and squeal. But then they've got particular calls for danger coming from a particular area. So there's a specific call for danger on the ground, or a specific different call for danger from the sky. And so you can see as soon as the particular call goes out, they either look up or along the ground, and then if there was real danger, they would make for a quick escape down a termite mound or a little burrow. But they're foraging around, very similar to that of Timon on the Lion King, but he was a suricate, so slightly different species, but very similar habits. You can also very often find them denning with ground squirrels, same as the surricates, but the surricates you also find them a little bit more where it's a bit more arid. Now, Julia, you're wondering if they're related to meerkats. Yes, they are, Julia. They are related to meerkats. And meerkats we commonly call surricates. So, a meerkat is actually an Afrikaans. The direct translation, meerkat. But we say meerkat, and I'm sure you've seen some of the programs, and one of the ones that I know is Meerkat Manor. Very interesting, where the little territorial disputes between the different families and their burrows in different termite mounds. Well, this is very similar, and look how they stand on their back legs, very similar to that of the meerkats or surricates. Also looking sentry, looking out for each other, and it's the best way to be able to survive easier if you've got lots of eyes and ears. Now, Clifford, you're wondering if mongoose are immune to snake venom. Now, I've heard that they're not completely immune to it, but they do have a very big, their bodies can handle it a lot more than other animals. So, very often they can go down under the weather, but they can make remarkable recoveries. So, the major thing, obviously, is that they don't get bitten at all, and they're so fast that generally the snakes struggle to actually bite them. And so one attacks from the front, while another one goes behind, and as the snake strikes for the one in front, the one behind attacks, and they've got very sharp little teeth that they'll sink into the flesh of the snake. And they can actually be prodigious snake killers because of this tactic of gang mobbing them. And so the snakes need to beware if they come across meerkats or surricates or mongoose, such as these banded mongoose. They are pretty much like bandits as well, because I used to have them in Etosha National Park. They used to come at the Namutoni camp which is on the eastern side of Etosha, and they used to come and sit around and do a little show for you, and so you're watching one mongoose in front of you while the rest are all on your table behind you, eating all the food that you were trying to prepare. So they are little bandits, can be quite naughty, but that's one of our lovely grassland species that are moving through here. You also do get some singular mongoose that don't move around in groups, like your water mongoose, your white-tailed mongoose, but I don't believe you get the white-tailed mongoose here. You do, however, get the water mongoose. I've seen their tracks, and tracks never lie, so you definitely get them here. I'm just going to see, they are quite skittish, so I'm going to see if I can get a little bit closer to them without them running off. But if they do run off, I won't bother them too much, because we don't want them running all the way across the plain just to get away from us. So they're all watching us. You see how they're all sticking their heads up? There's not too much we can do in being less quiet, because the Land Rover makes the noise it makes. But we can try and stop just there. We're quite a lot closer now, so you can maybe see them a little bit better. Sorry about that, folks. I don't know what happened there. A little bit of the gremlins striking back. And these little banded mongoose, they're quite ferocious little customers. I've actually seen a picture or video of, I think it was here in the Mara, to be honest, and there was 4 lions that were attacking a banded mongoose, and I can tell you, in the end, the banded mongoose had chased these 4 lions and made them look quite ridiculous. And when they So they're still just moving through the grass. Now, sorry folks, we're not quite sure what's happening with the gremlins. They seem to keep attacking, but we'll watch these mongoose a little bit as they move through the grass, and then we'll maybe seek some better signal and drive on a little bit. They are disappearing a little bit there, so I'll give them their chance, and off they go quite happily, looking for grubs and insects and little lizards and all sorts. It's always wonderful to see the gregarious natured animals such as the lions, but these ferocious little predators as well. Fascinating family structure. Always nice to see. Very interesting to see animals that are solitary and their tactics and survival strategies versus animals that have invested more in having groups to look after each other, more eyes and ears. And it's interesting to note the successful or success rates of the different tactics or evolutionary lines. If you look at a leopard, one of the most adaptable cats in the world, and as a result one of the most populated and found in all the different habitats too, but for the most part completely solitary. Whereas if you look at lions, more of a gregarious nature, but I think it have a little bit more to do with them coming into more conflict with humans. I think the leopards can live almost in habitats of humans and silently picking off cats and dogs in the middle of the night, whereas lion prides can't really go that easily under the radar because of the big groups that they form and because of the massive noise that they make when they start roaring and marking their territories. Whereas I know of areas where leopards exist where they are completely silent. You never hear them because that would obviously give away their position to humans and land up in them getting killed. So leopards have also adapted very quickly to living in and around human populations. And I think it's a lot to do with them being solitary, because you can imagine how difficult it would be for 5 or 6 lions to keep their presence a secret, as opposed to one leopard who could hide behind the dustbin in a dark alley for most days without anybody noticing. So there's two different survival strategies. So folks, you're still joining me live, discovering this whole new area of the Maasai Mara, and I'm feeling so excited about what's going to happen in the next couple of days. But in the interim, let's send you all the way on down south, 1,600 miles, to Scott.
Hello everyone, you may have just seen a bird fly through the thick undergrowth there. We were hoping it would stick around. That's its calling. It's a orange-breasted bushshrike, and it's been lurking around here doing some hunting, so I'm hoping we are going to be able to find it and show it to you at some point. They're quite secretive birds and very beautiful. My name is Scott, and it is wonderful to welcome you down to South Africa. We are in the Sabi sands. It's a blazing hot sunny afternoon, and I'm teamed up with Senzo on camera. Now, I've got some exciting updates from the morning. For those of you who weren't on the sunrise safari, there was a buck kill found this morning, hoisted up in a tree with no sign of any leopard in the area, and we guessed that it was either one of two sisters, Shadow or Tundi. And we were hoping that it was going to be Tundi that returned to the kill, and she did indeed return. Whilst we were enjoying breakfast, there was another vehicle that was staking out that area to make sure we found out which leopard was responsible for it, and more importantly, if it was Tundi, that she would hopefully lead us to her cub thereafter. Once she had fed on the kill a bit more, maybe she would go back to the den. And interestingly, for the third time that we've noticed now, she took the kill down from the tree and towards the den site. We know this because she took the kill down from the tree. I thought she was just moving it into a shady area, but she then kind of stopped. It was very thick. She was seen somewhere just up to our right, but we actually saw her from the other side of the road, from where we are now, from kind of a road. We're down in a riverbed now, and we got a tiny little glimpse of the cub, and then she disappeared somewhere into these thickets. So we're guessing that she's stashing the cub somewhere in and around quite a few little gullies in this area and lots of thick vegetation. So we've come here in the hope that she will pop out again. So that's what we are planning for our afternoon. We're going to stake this area out, and with a little bit of luck, she will pop onto the scene with that young cub. It's a tricky area, this, because it is so thick. We're not going to be able to get the vehicle exactly where we want to, but that's testament to what a good den it is, that it's kind of impenetrable. Oh, Senzo spotted the bird again. Look at that! What a view! Well done, Senz. Is that not one of the most awesome birds you've ever laid eyes on? How cool! You can see the way it's holding open its beak, that it confirms that it's a hot afternoon. Even the birds are panting. Well, I'm very happy that we got you that glimpse of the orange-breasted bushshrike. Oh, here it is again. It's a bird we don't see very often, so let's ride this wave for as long as possible. You can see it's definitely hunting, looking for a meal. I cannot believe what good visuals we're getting of it. This is absolutely incredible. It's so close to us, which is very unlike them. They're usually quite shy and secretive, and let's hope this is going to be the kind of benchmark for the afternoon, and not only will we maybe get spoiled with this incredible sighting, but also with the cub of Tundi, which is only about 6 or 7 weeks old now. Okay, well, now that the bird is flitzed off, I think, and she would like to let you know what her plans are for the afternoon.
Yes, I am indeed another bird, and I am a bird that can drive. Thanks, Scott. Hi everyone, good afternoon. We had this amazing male waterbuck positioned so beautifully, and then this younger one came up and moved him out of the way. So we'll still take it. Young male waterbuck on screen at the moment. It is an interesting afternoon. We can hear some thunder in the far distance. I think in the next 2 or 3 hours it's most likely going to rain. I don't think it's going to rain just at the moment, and I'm very excited that Scott's finding of that steamboat kill this morning did result in Tundi. That is absolutely fantastic, because we've been struggling to find where she is. And Scott and I were just having a chat before we left on drive, and we're thinking possibly maybe she's not fully denning anymore, but just sort of moving the cub to wherever she makes kills, which makes quite a bit of sense. She's not too far from where we saw her on Christmas, but she's farther from where we thought she was going to be after the sighting in the rain that some of the other vehicles had of her moving farther north. So yay, well done Scott, so exciting. Okay, so I am Noelle, and this is Safari Live. As we know, you've met Taylor, you've met Ralph, and you've met Scott, and on camera I have Ferg. So we've got minimal movement areas in there. So Ferg is thumbs upping and saluting and all of that. And don't forget, we're live, we're interactive out of South Africa with myself and Scott, and out of Kenya with Ralph and Taylor. So our plans for this afternoon is to eventually make it back to where we had Hassana this morning, the little chief, little prince of Djuma. I'm just waiting for it to cool down a bit. It is really warm. I would probably say it's about 35 or 36. But yeah, that's just a guesstimate. It's also very humid with that thunder shower moving through. Other than that, I think I really want some elephants today. So we checked Twin Dams and we checked Treehouse. Amazingly, no elephants. But again, elephants usually rock up where the thunder is before we even hear the thunder. So they're probably farther south and west of us at the moment. Julia, what is my most memorable moment of a Safari Live drive in 2017? Mongoose Black Mamba sighting with Senzo. My other was when and then Jean-Dre and I had an amazing sighting with the sticks on Twin Dam Wall. And then I have to say, anything that Ferg and I did during rehearsals, live and not live rehearsals, where we were chasing those wild dogs, all completely epic and amazing. Oh, and that hippo sighting where that other female was eating the afterbirth from the other one. I was trying to pick just 10 photos from this past year that I really liked, and then I was going through, I was like, oh, but that sighting was great. So yeah, I'm very bad at narrowing that down. But let's see, maybe the last drive of 2017 allows us something even more exciting. We picked that as our number one, so we're going to carry on down the Milwaukee and try and hop from shady spot to shady spot and find, hopefully, specific about these elephant sightings. Other than that, I'm also trying to see if we can pick up anything on Tingana. I know that some of you saw him going over the dam wall last night around 11 o'clock our time. And then this morning, I think the guys had a couple of tracks, but there was also lion activity. And then we got sidetracked with Hassana and with that steamboat kill that ended up being from Tundi. Scott was saying she was in a little bit of a foul mood when he did catch a quick glimpse of her, and I have a feeling that's because Tingana might have come near where her cub is, and she's just not ready for that yet. So it's possible that he's around here somewhere, although he does like to be our last minute leopard. Maybe he'll be our last minute leopard. Now, some of the areas, as most of the water holes have dried up here, except for the large dam. So I'm going to check for nice little browsing areas, and then we'll probably head over to Chitwa Dam and see what's potting there. Maybe we get a little bit of swimming ellies that side. Now, I'd be curious to know what all of you are doing for New Year's Eve. I know some people like to just take it easy, and some people go all out, so send those through. Curious to know. I think I'll be having a little bit of apple juice with the crew, and then I'll probably be asleep by 9 o'clock. maybe a little bit earlier. And then waking up to drive in 2018. Alright, just coming around the corner here. We haven't done trees in a while, and these leadwoods are looking very beautiful. While we're repositioning to talk about this very stationary tree, let's head all the way back up to the Maasai Mara to Ralph, and let's see how his last drive of 2017 is going. Hopefully he's managed.
Thanks, Noel. And yes, the last game drive of 2017 indeed. And look at this landscape. It is just, it's mind-blowing. In the front we've got a mountain range which is just behind the little town called Talaq, and in front of that and coming through now we've got a big wall of rain, it seems, that's coming towards us, and we're following along with a small river line with a lot of trees running along it. But as I drive through here, I can't help but reminisce and feel like I'm in some of the areas that I've driven around and frequented in Namibia, because the parts heading towards the northwestern sections of Namibia, very similar. However, the feel to it, the climate, slightly different, because here it feels a lot more moist, not as dry as it is in Namibia, and not quite as hot either. And obviously, with the amount of clouds that we have here, totally different to that in Namibia, because if Namibia only has this very rarely. So here we've just come across a small aggregation of animals, and we'll just have a quick look, because we've been driving for quite a while and not seen too many animals. And Manu was actually mentioning to me that it's looking quite different, because I think the last time he was here it was full up with plains game, being zebra and wildebeest. So a little bit different at the moment, where all the animals have moved off down into the Serengeti, and so these are the stragglers and the ones that have stayed behind. But lovely to see them out on the plains nonetheless, and still very interesting to think that in not too long into the new year, and we'll start to see the beginnings of the migration once more. But as we look out there with the gazelle and the topi and the zebra happily walking through, we're going to be moving off soon and see what else we can find along these immense plains. And while we do that, let's send you on back to Taylor and see how she's getting on.
Look at what we've got brewing in the distance, and I hope it doesn't hit us, but I hope it does pass through the Maasai Mara, because we desperately need the rain. But the winds are howling down there that it's picking up so much dust and sort of swirling around. There was one bit of dust that's died down now. It actually looked like it was a tornado in the distance. It wasn't. It was just so much of it. It is scary. There's lots of lightning. There'll be torrential rain. Going to be hit by this storm. I just hope it doesn't cause a flash flood. We are staying at Olusheki, obviously I said that to you, which is just in the town of Talaq, and the Talaq River will then rise quite a bit, and we've got to cross over a bridge in the Talaq River, which makes me a bit nervous. Okay, well, we're driving around here now, almost in the area of Hamakop, hoping to find some cheetah of sorts. I'm going to find a car, and hopefully they'll tell me where exactly I need to go. No. 17. You'll get to see what she got to saw on Christmas Day.
So Ferg and I have managed to find a little shady spot for us to sit, but also so that you can see the beautiful blue sky with a little bit of clouds, and how vibrant green the leaves are of this leadwood tree, and also just the contrast with that with the very light colored gray bark. So I'm going to let Ferg work his very wonderful magic with all the angles he wants to go at, because this leadwood is just beautiful all around. I really enjoy all the textures that it involves, as well as the fact that it's such a long living tree. So we're coming to the end of one year and the beginning of another year, and I think for a lot of us as we do this, we start to recollect our thoughts and go, oh my goodness gracious, I can't believe I'm this old, and what have I done with my life, and can sometimes be a little bit, I guess, sad about it. But this tree actually makes me quite happy and very hopeful. It's a tree that can live for over 1,000 years, and it's just amazing. It's a very hard wood, and the leaves are not very palatable. It's eaten sometimes when it's a bit younger. Has a bit of spines on the branches there, and it not only protects itself, but it also does a lot of work for the environment. So as it starts getting older, parts of it hollow out, and after it has stopped growing and has died off after hundreds and hundreds of years, it also then becomes a home for many species. So it's a home for species whilst alive, and then allows to carry on living far after it itself has lived. It just boggles my mind. And then once it falls over, it takes about another 50 years to decompose, and that decomposing then gives more organisms a chance to live and evolve, and then all the nutrients go into the soil and then create more habitat and more homes and more food and resources for everything around. So this is my philosophical moment for the game drive. It's a conserved tree inside of South Africa, but it's not a conserved tree in other parts of Africa, sub-Saharan Africa specifically. So we talk a lot about rhino poaching, and we talk a lot about elephant poaching, and we talk about how wild dogs are endangered, and we talk about the declining numbers of lions, but we don't necessarily talk about the species that make everything important. So a tree like this will be a place for a leopard to put a kill in. A tree like this will give homes to birds that alarm call for leopards walking past, that then might save a kudu, which then might have another baby for another generation going on. It's a place for elephants to rub their backs on after they've been in the mud to help an itch and help take parasites off, or the same for a rhino or a buffalo. There are many insects who will utilize the flowers that are on this tree. I could keep waffling on and on and on. So in other parts of Africa, it's cut down to make furniture, and because it takes so long to grow, the species in general is actually in decline as well. So we must also think about not just the big and beautiful and wonderful and charismatic, but also something like this gorgeous leadwood tree. So I think you all have heard my philosophical waffling on for long enough. Tom, you'd like to know, are there any alien tree species in Djuma? Tom, as far as I know, most of the alien tree species have been taken out. So an alien tree species would be something like a jacaranda tree or a blue gum, also known as a eucalyptus. We do have a few plant species. I see prickly pears every now and then, and some kokibos and a few things like that that are alien invasives. But no, not too many trees. This is pretty beautiful, wild, indigenous area that we're in. Oh, there's that texture. It actually reminds me of elephants, the texture of this, and you can actually see the rubbing from where an elephant's been passed there. Thanks, Ferg. Alrighty, it's starting to cool down slightly. Could be because we're sitting in the shade and there's a slight breeze that's coming up. There you can see more of that mud from elephants coming past. So I think what we'll do from here is we'll start heading more east and then a little bit more south and end up towards Chitwa Dam in front of Chitwa Lodge and see what moving species we can find for you. So we'll go from the flora to the fauna. All right, onward and upward, Ferg. Ooh, Alana, very good question. So Alana, you're 14 years old and you're watching the show right now. I hope you're having a very good time with it, and you'd like to know what is a subspecies. So Alana, we're humans, but our scientific name is Homo sapien sapien. Okay, so basically what that means is that there was a species called Homo sapien, and then we are a species that has branched off of that like a cousin. Yeah, so Homo sapien, we the beast here, and the and Ralph is a subspecies, a cousin of that species. So they can technically interbreed. So if we had any Homo sapiens around, not just Homo sapiens sapiens, we could technically interbreed with them. I'll give you another example just to show the difference. We get white rhino and black rhino in South Africa. White rhino and black rhino have different species names. So one white rhino is Cirrothinum sinum. I always mispronounce that, but that's the best I can do. And the black rhino is Diceros bicornis. So those are different genus and different species. They're both rhinos, but they're not subspecies of either one. They cannot interbreed. If none of that makes sense, Alana, you must let me know. Think about it, and then send through another question if you want me to explain a little bit more, because I love this topic. It's a fascinating topic for me, and I'm very happy to carry on the conversation. But think on that, and then let me know if you want me to expand a little bit as we carry on through the beautiful bushveld. I'm going to come up onto a little bit of a rise here, and then you all will be able to see what we're talking about with hearing that thunder and the possible rainstorm that's going to come through in the next couple of hours. I just want to move into a little bit of a gap so Ferg can show you properly what we're talking about with this front coming in. There we go. I think that works pretty well, Ferg. So on our left-hand side, we have blue, blue, blue sky with hardly any clouds. On the right-hand side, you can see the wall of moisture and cloud coming through. I believe the question was, why in Sabi Sands are lions fewer in number than leopard? It's not the case that they're fewer in number than leopard. We just happen to be seeing quite a lot of leopard recently. And one of the reasons why we're seeing quite a lot of leopard is the fact that the lions are in different parts of their territory. But continent-wide, sub-Saharan continent-wide, we don't know the full numbers of leopards continent-wide at all. We do know roughly the number of wild lions, so there's less than 20,000 wild lions left. There are one or two reports that say it's closer to 30,000, but I'm more trusting in the lower number. And for leopard, we're not quite sure. It could be a little bit more than. Population numbers tend to peak and valley in a similar fashion, almost in tandem, not necessarily all the way in tandem, but almost in tandem, as opposed to a cheetah, who's our other big cat on the continent. So leopard and lions will peak and cheetah will valley, and then they'll go like this across. Good question. All right, so you can see that beautiful front that's pulling through here, and it's starting to get gray in the background. I was taught as a child that when wind starts pulling through and and they always laugh at me, but I'm actually watching these trees do it now. You can see on, it's not a shambok pod, with this wisteria that's just in front of us here.
Sorry about that, folks. Not sure what happened, but welcome back, and look at the lovely view that we have coming out. But we're getting a little bit worried that we might be getting wet soon, because we seem to be getting surrounded by the storm. But we'll continue driving nonetheless and hope for the best. We're aiming for that little light patch in between the storm, just hoping that there's not too much rain in the middle. But that's our best bet, so we're taking our chances and racing for the middle. But we'll obviously stop if we see anything exciting along the way. We've been looking out all the while for cheetah, so it's still utterly beautiful, even with the rain approaching. We need it, I think, a little bit dry at the moment, but a little bit of rain never hurt anyone. We'll just make driving a little bit more difficult. This seems to be quite a bit more clayey soils in this particular area, and these black cotton soils as well. So I can see that after the rain could be a little bit slippery and slidey. Get very interesting and test your 4x4 skills, when to use your differential lock and your low range. We're just trying to take the right road which leads us. There are a lot of different little two tracks, just to give you the feel of how it is. folks, with this approaching storm that you can see in front of us, I'm pretty sure it's half the reason as to why we've got some problems behind the scenes. Signal is getting a little bit low, but the tech guys are going to work all over it, and we're going to send you to the mountain camp just for a little while they get the problem fixed.